like and subscribe.
I wanted to watch this for a while now. I'm pretty sure I like added it as soon as I saw it posted like a month ago, because I did say in one of the Warhammer videos, there's something wrong with Tau, man. There's just something. But we'll see what this is. Did Tau accidentally create a new god? Let's see.
From the reality-bending madness of the Chaos Gods to the often hilarious brutality of Gork and Mork, the grimdark future is full of deities big and small. Almost every species in the Milky Way either currently has or at some point had gods that defined or even controlled them through their connection to the warp. With one major exception, the Tau. For most of their history, the Tau stood apart from the other sentient species, as they had no connection to the Immaterium to speak of, no psychers and no gods. Not only did they lack any form of organized religion, they didn't even have a concept of spiritual belief in the first place. They were a species defined by—
Okay, so these are atheists. Okay, man.
By pure logic and progress, guided by their governing philosophy, the greater good. It was their strength, their identity, and their shield against the darkness. And then they kinda sorta accidentally created God anyway. If I had a nickel for every time a technologically advanced species in 40k accidentally birthed a god, I'd have 3 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened thrice. You see, in more recent lore, a new warp entity has emerged. Not one born from prophecy or unchecked excess, but from the perversion of the greater good itself. The entity's name is the Tau Va, the same word that the Tau uses for the greater good, their founding ideology. And now it's the literal personification of that ideal, manifested into a supremely powerful warp-born goddess.
Nah, that's insane. These atheists accidentally created a god. That's crazy.
What makes this so crazy is that she shouldn't exist at all. If belief has power in 40k because of a species' connection to the warp, then how the hell did a bunch of peace-loving atheists with 0 warp presence manage to create a titanic 8-armed god of war? And if you think the Tau are ready to deal with something like that, surprise, they're absolutely not. The appearance of this deity threatens to undermine the very foundation of their society. Some believe she will be the only salvation, while others fear she could bring about its total collapse. So what is the Tau Va really?
I mean, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. All of these warp gods, and then like, no thanks, we don't believe. Then all of a sudden, hello, you guys not believing? You guys created me. What the fuck do you do then, man?
How powerful is she? And what does she want? How did the Tau react to her creation? And what does her existence mean for their future? It's aggressively oversimplifying things, but if you've been into Warhammer for a long time, you know that in this franchise, beliefs have power. The more people believe in something, the more it become real in the Immaterium, and thus
kind of like the orcs, man. I love the orcs, how they work.
The physical universe as well. However, the Tau were a species that, for many years, were defined by their lack of connection to the Immaterium. On one hand, this meant they had no psychers, and thus couldn't use the warp to travel faster than the speed of light, like the Imperium does. But it also meant they had no gods, no religion, no spirituality, no belief systems capable—
They're just traveling. These guys are just using trains while, I don't know, there's planes that exist. Okay.
Shaping reality the way they do.
How'd you expand so much?
But that all changed in Warhammer 40k's 8th edition, when the Tau Va,
I guess when you create like multiple, when you accept like all the Xenos and everything else is like factioned off to where like, oh, only orcs allowed, oh, only humans allowed, only Necrons allowed, all of that. I guess when you're accepting all of the other races, then yeah, I guess you can spread out pretty quickly.
Armed, faceless deity suddenly appeared, rescuing the survivors of the ill-fated 4th Sphere expansion. Her emergence is one of 40k's strangest and most compelling mysteries. And not just because of how she was created, which, spoiler warning, is gonna get kinda weird, but because of what she represents. As I said before, beliefs shape reality. Gods in this universe are born from belief. They are fueled by the psychic resonance of thoughts, emotions, and ideas that ripple out from us through the Immaterium, gradually coalescing into powerful sentient entities over time.
Look at him.
But if the Tau have no—
Look at him, and I was still sticking with it. I was still sticking with that. he's some sort of god, like on that level, but he just doesn't want to say it because he doesn't want to get worshipped. He has to be. Brother went into the warp, did some shit, came back out more powerful. Holy dude. Has to be. Or some sort of like demigod. Well, he is a demigod, so.
Into powerful sentient entities over time. But if the Tau have no connection to the warp, if their thoughts and emotions don't echo through the immaterium the way others do, then how the hell did they make a god? To understand the paradox of the living Tau Va, we need to go back to the beginning, to the earliest days of the Tau Empire, and uncover the beliefs, cultures, and decisions that may have set this all in motion. As this video is not meant to be a comprehensive deep dive on the Tau, we're going to skim over quite a lot of their history and just stick to the things you need to know in order to understand the Tau Va goddess.
We'll definitely check out what the Tau's about in one of the videos.
Began as a fractured and tribal species. Scientists, warriors, artisans, and survivalists all locked in this seeming never-ending struggle for dominance in an era remembered as the Mont Tau, or the Terror. This period of tribal warfare would come to an end with the arrival of a fifth caste, the Ethereals, mysterious figures that arrived seemingly overnight. It was they that ended the chaos, not through force, but through presence, authority, and the promise of unity through the philosophy of the Tau Va, the greater good. So yeah, the god of the greater good, really named the greater good, which I find kind of funny. But
is that a Hot Fuzz reference? When did they add the Tau? Wait, that could be a Hot Fuzz reference.
Here's the big thing. The greater good was never meant to be a religion, and it certainly wasn't meant to become a god. It's a philosophy, a way of life that values the collective over the individual, a secular belief system that teaches that
communism. 20 years ago? So when did Hot Fuzz come out? Probably. Oh, actually, no, the Hot Fuzz would be later.
Every action should serve the greater benefit of society.
So these are just atheist communists. Well, communists are pretty much atheists.
As a whole, to do the most good.
I knew there was something wrong with these guys. I'm kidding.
And because it isn't a religion, this philosophy was surprisingly compatible with other species that did have spiritual beliefs or traditions of their own. These other aliens, often referred to as the Tau.
Look at these filthy Xenos. Ugh. Disgusting.
Auxiliaries are species that have joined the Tau Empire and dedicated.
Look at them, man. Look at they have no teeth. They have like beak things. Ugh. Disgusting creatures.
The greater good. Sometimes by choice,
savages.
Sometimes not so much. Some of these auxiliaries abandoned their old ways entirely in favor of the greater good, but others blended its teachings with their own culture's belief systems. And interestingly enough, that's something that the Tau actually encouraged. You see, the Tau never had an issue with religion or spirituality per se. They just didn't understand it. With no connection to the warp and no spiritual instincts of their own, they viewed things like prayer and faith as harmless quirks.
No way, faithless.
Contradict the teachings of the greater good, they would be tolerated, even seen as valuable tools for diplomacy and long-term cooperation. And sure, on the surface, that sounds
surely in those fascist countries, religion was accepted just like this, 100%.
It's pretty progressive. Almost a little out of character for the grimdark future of 40K, where everyone hates everyone else all of the time. But oh, don't you worry, because there was a huge flaw in this line of thinking. You see, the greater
I knew it. I don't know why I'm like this. I'm like, the first hearing about the Tau and like what they stood for, I immediately was like, come on, dude. There's something sketchy going on here. I don't trust these guys, like almost immediately.
Designed by the Tau for the Tau.
Maybe I'm just racist. Yeah, that's probably it.
As such, it works best for them. A species that distrusts individuality and has no concept of spiritual thinking. But the Tau Empire no longer consists of just the Tau. It's filled with auxiliary species, the vast majority of whom are psychically sensitive, emotionally volatile, and spiritually attuned, both culturally and biologically, or at least whatever the metaphysical equivalent of biology is. For many auxiliary species, the greater good wasn't just an idea. It was something to believe in, something to pray to. Over time, the thoughts.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't completely out. They. Oh, that's weird. So they accidentally stumbled upon faith, or at least like some of the tribes did. That's interesting.
Auxiliaries grew stronger and stronger, both in real space as this religion spread and in the warp. Across dozens, if not hundreds of worlds, they erected shrines and
I
temples.
wonder how strong the Tau Va is compared to the other gods.
To the communality of species, the Tau Va, goddess of the greater good. And those prayers wouldn't go unheard forever.
The greater good.
Tau's darkest hour, during the fated force sphere expansion, where the Empire took a gamble that would change their place in the galaxy forever. Okay, so the force sphere expansion is where the Tau Va made her grand debut, and it's where the majority of the lore surrounding her comes from. Now, if you're unfamiliar with them, the spheres of expansion are basically the Tau Empire's version of major colonization waves. Every few generations, they launch a huge effort to explore new systems, new planets, and spread the greater good across the stars.
The greater good.
The real issue is that the Tau are not capable of warp travel, which, if the charts in the old Rogue Trader RPGs are to be believed, is thousands, if not tens of thousands of times faster than the speed of light. So whereas the Imperium just kinda shotguns its ships out across the galaxy,
drink water right
snatching
now.
up as much territory as possible.
There's a gun
before
pointed at
moving
your
on.
head. If you don't drink water, I'm gonna shoot.
Okay, hydrating. Like I think like holy shit, that guy looks cool. What the fuck? Whoa, this guy looks like he's got the Z claws. What the hell? Is he? Wait, what faction is this? These guys look cool, but the Tau Va, did maybe they created something. I'm assuming that's where this is leading to. Maybe.
On to it again, the Tau take a much more slow and steady approach, making sure that each planet they fold into their empire is integrated as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, they could just spread out because they're accepting like of all the Xenos that can fight for the greater good. So that's how they expand. They're like a cancer on this universe.
for them for a
Spreading goodness, disgusting.
while. But
Xenos.
at the time of the Force Sphere
Filthy.
expansion, the galaxy was in utter turmoil. Neighboring systems were under threat from Tyranids and Necrons, and the Great Rift had split the galaxy in half. The Ethereal Council believed that they needed a new, faster drive, and they needed it now. To this end, they sanctioned the Earthcast engineers to come up with a new form of propulsion technology. And they did this by reverse engineering captured alien tech, and namely an Imperial warp drive and an ancient Kroot warsphere engine. By combining these technologies, the Earthcast was able to create the Slipstream drive, a propulsion system that theoretically could match the speed of traditional warp travel. It worked by creating a sphere of antimatter around a ship traveling at incredibly high speeds. The collision of matter was capable of...
That's why it's called Slipstream. I was thinking, some sort of, how normal slipstreams work. Okay.
Momentarily tearing open space and time, allowing a vessel
Rip her open, man. What?
slipped through the tear to travel across vast distances nearly instantaneously. They successfully conducted a small-scale test wherein an XV-65 Marlin-class craft was able to use the slipstream to travel across the entirety of the Tau Empire in only 2 days.
That's crazy. And it's not affected by the warp or anything. There's no like mind-breaking field they had to go through. Or at least that's what I think at the moment, maybe.
Despite the Earthcast warnings that this tech was not safe for larger crafts, the Ethereals did what they did.
Okay.
They ordered it scaled up and implemented fleet-wide. Their desire to advance the greater good at any cost,
The greater good.
overruling scientific caution. The resulting fleet, said to be the largest since the days of Commander Farsight, consisted of...
Look so different, man. They look so different. I think it's the round, like how round everything is. They look so out of place still for me.
And auxiliary ships, each fitted with a slipstream drive. When the fleet attempted to launch and all
Whoa,
of
what the... Is this like current 41st? Or is this probably like earlier during Terra? What is this picture? and made to look alien. I mean, it works, man. Atheists, communists, they all look alien to me, god damn it.
Were activated simultaneously, a devastating chain reaction occurred. It tore a massive wound in real space, a spiraling rift that lashed out, devouring the entire fleet. It was a horrifying disaster, unlike any in the Tao's history, and the Ethereals immediately went to work attempting to contain and censor all information and footage from the disaster site. But that was just from the Empire's perspective. In reality, those ships hadn't been destroyed at all. From their perspective, they had experienced a complete collapse of known reality, describing it in later logs as an unraveling of space and time. They had no idea where they—
So they are bad. They are bad. Okay. They did the Lex Luthor thing where they had the boom tubes, but they fucked up the boom tubes and ripped a tear through space and time. So they're bad. They're the bad guys, 100%.
And soon lost all sense of direction. Now, we as the audience know that they're in the warp, but you gotta remember that this is all brand new to the Tau. They have no idea what's going on or where they are. Further, based on first-hand accounts that we've been given in the novels, they weren't really in the warp the same way that we often see.
Oh, okay.
When we're reading stories about Imperial vessels. You see, humanity—
I was conflicted then because I thought, they managed to create their own travel that bypasses the warp, but they are in the warp just differently.
By contrast, has perfected warp travel, only really has their ships skim across the top of the Great Ocean, unwilling to go any deeper than necessary. But the Tau fleet had plunged deep into the Sea of Souls.
No.
They soon lost all sense of direction. They were trapped in an anomalous subrealm with no navigational reference and no forward momentum. What began as a journey became a prolonged period of entrapment and psychological degradation. It seemed pretty hopeless here, but—
Dude, that's reminding me of me. Back in primary school, we used to have like swimming lessons. Bro, I wanted to be in the deep end so much, and then when I finally got the chance to be there, I panicked fucking hard, dude. It's kind of embarrassing because it was the first time that was in kind of a relationship, quote unquote. I was really young. Basically, in this swimming pool, they said, go into the deep end and you just learn to float. Everyone learns to float. And then I kind of panicked and I started flailing. And then I grabbed the nearest person, which was this girl, and I just pulled her down to keep myself up, man. I was practically drowning this girl. And then what's crazy is when we moved up to secondary school, we had the day that leavers day where like the older kids, they're leaving, everyone signs the shirts and everything. And the girl that I almost drowned wrote on my shirt saying, I like you. And that was my first kind of relationship. We started walking to secondary school together, which is weird, man. I don't get it. I never talked to her really. And the only interaction that I had previously with her was me like literally trying to drown her to keep myself up, man.
As is tradition in 40k, when things seem their darkest, you can bet your ass it's about to get a whole lot worse.
Yo, main, what's up? The tower, basically Imperial Japan, discovering the galaxy of 40k. Very fast without restraints.
And auxiliary races within the fleet. Humans, Crew, Nikasar, and others.
They're like trying to catch up with everything. Dude, that's so weird. It's like when they got introduced, they were new to the universe. They didn't know anything. And then now they're like trying to play catch up with every being in this universe. It's kind of meta in a way, right? That's pretty funny.
First to be targeted by swarming, hungering demons. And it wasn't like they were being drawn to all of the ships equally. The demons seemed to only go after the ships crewed primarily or entirely.
Maybe the girl likes being dominated. Maybe. You picked the wrong guy because I like to be the
species. The other vessels would attempt to help them whenever they could, but the formless, shapeless demon swarms were not something that they could actually attack. It would be like trying to fire a gun at smoke. Eventually, the hungering Neverborn would turn their attention towards the Tau vessels, having now sensed their growing fear and despair.
Jeez. Look at that art, man. Dude, I'm not like a real like art guy, but when it comes to stuff like this makes it I don't know, it just brings up some sort of feelings, man. This makes me feel fucking small and tiny. And I like that. What? Huh?
The survivor reports indicated that the demons would scrape and tap on the outside of their hulls, refusing to just kill them quickly and instead feeding off of their torment. To put things into perspective here, that whole antimatter field thing that they used to accomplish this in the first place—
This is crazy, by the way. That this is something that people use, but like, I don't know if it's actually, if the tidbit is like true or not, the fact, but Interstellar, they got scientists to create like a visual of how black holes like warp through space and time, and they made the calculations, put it in the machine, and this is what it is spewed out. That's crazy that came from a fucking movie.
Place, that's not a Geller field, despite what a lot of people seem to think. They don't have any Geller fields. They just dropped right into hell with no protection. It was at this point that all hope seemed lost. But then, something equally beautiful and horrifying appeared.
Their savior.
Enormous sentient presence, unlike anything they had encountered thus far. "It is almost impossible to describe it," said Twiceblade carefully. "There was something out there, amongst the swirling nebulae. Something vast, more of an impression of a sin."
Dude, this guy is good, man. Why does he do like voices so good? What the hell? That's... Dude, what?
Than an actual
He has to be a voice actor, surely, right?
creature. It had many arms, I think. Some of those were made to nurture or to provide, others to destroy. In physique, it was familiar to us, for it was built much like a member of the On. He paused, lost in the memory, and his Shio-Hi wrinkled. Though in retrospect, it was bulkier, and many of its hands had 5 digits, as if the notion of human beauty had mingled with the optimal form of the Tau.
"And did this hallucination speak?"
said Kais. It did not. It had no face, only a blank and impassive mask. It was somehow familiar to me, reassuring even, yet it was repugnant at the same time. And I can assure you, it was no mirage.
That's
Every
crazy.
member of every vessel saw the same.
I don't care. In the real world, if you're an atheist and you see a being like this, you'd start praying, man. I personally would. Like, what the hell, man?
thing. Though as with all forms in the subrealm, it could not be recorded.
So, there is no proof that it occurred. There is such a thing as collective hallucination.
Perhaps, said Twiceblade.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. There's a couple more 40k tubers that do their own voices when reading long videos. Okay. Just like the SCP. Dude, I need to dive into SCP at some point.
Entity was our savior. It looked down upon us. I felt something of a good in it. Some twisted form of altruism, or communality perhaps.
And yet your voice trembles to speak of it,
said Kais. I found it strangely calming to behold, Master. But I also felt its hunger to grow, to spread its many limbs from the tip of one of the galaxy's spiral arms to the other.
I'm so dirty-minded.
Everything in its own image. I remember feeling that. And then...
my god. This guy's so good. The little pause, and you hear like the mouth sounds he makes, like kind of like hesitating. Why is this guy so good? What the hell?
From the tip of one of the galaxy's spiral arms to the other, to remake everything in its own image. I remember...
Dude, that little pause and Bro, bro, I'm so impressed.
Feeling that. And then, feeling like it peered directly into my soul. Just when I thought I would ignite from the inside, it reached out with its mini limbs and ripped a hole in the swirling nebula that had become us. It was more like a tunnel. The thing reached through it, then seemed to fade away. The tunnel swirled before us, drawing us in. At first, with almost imperceptible slowness. But as we neared the hole, it drew us in at great acceleration. It felt as if we had been in there for an entire Kairota by the time it finally spat us out. But the data suites insisted only a few decks had passed by the time we finally re-entered mundane space.
And your ships were intact,
said Kais. Largely, agreed Twiceblade. Though most of the Tau
I'm so mesmerized right now. Man, I need to speak.
bear some kind of mental wound at the experience. Sleep is rare amongst those of the fourth sphere. Of that, I have proof. I still see that subrealm every dark cycle when I close my eyes to meditate. And that entity looming within it,
You have a theory as to what that creature was,
said Kais.
and you abhor the conclusion you reached.
I do. It is the reason no Guvesa can be allowed to live, nor can any allied race of the Tau come to that. Tutor Twiceblade, along with High Commander Surestrike and others within the fourth sphere, reached a controversial conclusion. The entity that had saved them was a godlike being, but not one born of the Tau themselves, rather from the beliefs of all of their allied races, particularly the Guvesa, humans who had adopted the great.
Wait, so okay, so I'm kind of attributed the belief to Tau. So the Tau are the blue ones, and then technically the Tau is the collective, or is it just the blue ones, but they have the other races? So it's the other races, the other species that are not atheists like the Tau. They're the ones that believed and then created the god. Okay.
Greater good. But it wasn't just a god.
The greater good.
That would be bad enough. It was something far more disturbing. It was a warped reflection of the greater good, a perverted and distorted amalgamation of thousands, if not millions, of different interpretations of what the greater good was, shaped by the minds of alien believers. The Tau, the single most sacred thing in Tau society that had guided their culture and evolution for thousands of years, had been bastardized by the expectations, interpretations, and superstitious instincts of less enlightened species. Ironically, for a species that views faith as taboo, what they had experienced here, what they were witnessing, can only be described as a profound blasphemy on an incomprehensible scale. The leadership of the Force Sphere came to the grim conclusion that the only way to prevent
It looks so different, man. Like, look at these sharp edges, spikes. I think it feels unnerving because it feels too safe. Look at the rounded features, the helmet. I'm pretty sure like everything is like they did it for a reason, to make it feel safe. Like the head feels like very friendly compared to like anything else in this universe.
Was to completely eliminate all non-Tau
jarring.
elements within their territory. Every auxiliary species, no matter how long they had been part of the Empire, was now being seen as a liability, a threat to the purity of the Tau Va. I should also point out that to a lesser extent here, he and the other survivors are also, at this point, still pretty shaken up from the whole being plunged into literal hell and hunted by demons thing. The goddess is merely a symptom of the problem to them. Just like the humans attracted demons in the warp, if they continue to be part of the Empire, they will act as a vector for those things and their followers to continue to infect Tau society in the future. The auxiliaries were being looked at.
I will say though, they are kind of correct, but like, it's weird that they're accepting of everything and every being to join Tau, because if they had the same mindset as the humans, as the Imperium, and they just went and destroyed everything. If they destroyed every living being or dead being in the universe, the warp and everything would probably disappear, surely, right? Because they have no belief in it. They're not touched by it. There's nothing.
As an open, festering wound in the body of their empire. There's an old saying amongst the Tau that fire can heal as well as destroy. It can be used to burn away impurities and cauterize wounds.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, so that's their conclusion now. Now they're realizing that accepting all the other species might fuck them over. Yeah, okay. I was starting to like them now. All I heard was, they might genocide. They might feel righteous in their genocide, and I was like, okay. I might like these guys, maybe a little bit.
Just like it can be used to annihilate one's enemies. The greater good was sick, and bloodshed
The greater
was the
good.
only appropriate remedy. The truth of what they had learned, as well as what they were planning to do, could not be allowed to reach the wider empire, especially not the ethereal caste. The panic and widespread instability such knowledge would cause would be incomprehensible. So in the name of the greater good, the real greater good from their perspective, the force sphere
The greater good.
They operated in secret, relying on stealth technology, deniable assets, and proxy agents to carry out their agenda, quietly and efficiently, even going so far as to ally with the Dark Angels at one point. Long story short with that one, both factions here needed to eliminate their own allies, so a deal was struck. In exchange for helping the Dark Angels eliminate a target that they couldn't be seen attacking, the Tau of the Force Sphere would receive support in continuing their own purge, under the convenient cover of Imperial vengeance.
Okay. Okay, they're playing by the rules now. Ooh, this universe is getting more and more complex. I thought they would be like one-dimensional. Oh, these are the good guys. Everything is good. Everything's hunky-dory, man. But damn, I like this. I like this. Some listen traders, warbands like to use smuggled Tau weapons. They're like energy weapons, right? So like, I'm assuming they're the only faction with energy weapons. Everything else is like mechanical and like gunpowder and stuff.
In addition, they would routinely send their auxiliary allies unknown suicide missions and would deploy afterwards to pick off any survivors. Jumping ahead a little bit, but it's been about 10 years since the Fourth originally disappeared, and in that time, they've managed to colonize a few new worlds for the Empire. Additionally, the place that they entered the warp and the tunnel that they exited from have now linked together and created a massive wormhole known as the Startide Nexus. The Ethereals on the other side don't really know what this thing is, and they've forbidden anyone from going near it. Until one day, a drone comes through bearing a message that the Fourth had survived, and the mission had actually been a success. Shortly after that, the Ethereals, now in much higher spirits,
What the fuck is that?
Sphere expansion led by Commander Shadowsun. This is actually the backdrop for Shadowsun's novel Patient Hunters, as it takes place shortly after the Fourth and the Fifth have merged together, and throughout the
How like railguns and plasma guns are more stable than Imperial ones. Okay. They do look more. I say that with like the Adeptus Mechanicus, like yeah, they look like more put together tech compared to like look at all this stuff, man, all these upgrades.
the events of the book's first half, she's kind of unraveling the mystery of what happened to the Fourth and the conspiracy around the atrocities they committed. So I want to talk a little bit more about this, as this novel is where we get most of the information on the Tau Va from. Throughout Shadowsun's book, we see her opinions slowly start to shift on the auxiliaries worshipping the greater good as a god.
The greater good.
She's clearly very uncomfortable with the concept, often snapping and correcting her Guvesa allies whenever they say anything even remotely deifying, like, "May the Tau Va protect us," or "Great Tau Va hear our prayer," etc., etc. At one point, during a campaign on a planet being invaded by the Death Guard, she comes across a bunch of holy sites constructed by the human auxiliaries that live there, complete with a giant 8-armed statue front and center. Shadowsun sees this as a complete perversion of Tau cultural identity, of a fundamental misunderstanding of what the greater good is supposed to be all about. She sends a message to the Earthcast ordering them to schedule a demolition of all of these shrines after the invasion is repelled during the recovery period. But
they're just the Imperium, but like from the other side with no faith.
Notices something strange after giving that order. For some unexplained reason, these holy places are the only areas on the planet where Nurgle's corruption isn't spreading. Now, we as the audience know that...
I mean, how stubborn could they be, right? How stubborn will they be in their ways, like, if they see proof like this?
This is because faith is one of the strongest weapons that exist against demons and their ilk. But again, Shadowsun doesn't know this. At this point in the timeline, she's never even seen a demon before, which leads to a genuinely funny moment where she encounters a group of plague bearers and assumes they're some kind of horrifying diseased alien. So she opens with trying some diplomacy.
Nah. I mean, yeah, right? It'll be like someone like saying, oh, in real life, well, ghosts are real. They are real. I mean, who won't look at them going, you're fucking crazy, dude. What are you smoking?
One of them tries to lob a death head grenade at her, so she vaporizes it without a second thought. She gave them a chance, as the greater good demands.
The greater good.
As the story goes on, she witnesses more horrifying, reality-warping things spawn from the Immaterium. Her stance starts to soften after this, and not because she suddenly thinks worshipping the Tau Va like a god is a good idea, but because she's starting to realize just how little she and her people actually understand about how this universe works. Maybe the auxiliaries aren't as ignorant as she once assumed. Near the end of the book, we find out something even more interesting. Shadowsun had actually encountered this goddess face to face once before, during a life or death moment while training under Puretide when she was very young. Basically, she was going through this trial where she had to retrieve a special rock from deep inside of a mountain, only to find out that the entire thing was a setup. The whole mountain was a trap designed to test whether she could survive and escape. At one point, a massive underground river bursts through the tunnel and sweeps her away. She's in pitch black darkness, flipping head over feet and unable to breathe. And right when it looks like she's about to drown...
No, of course, man. Oh, they write this so well, man. They write this so well. Because typically, like, in life-threatening situations, a lot of people, like, turn to God for, like, because they feel some type of way, like, they feel like something should have happened to them, but it didn't. It feels like something intervened. I love that story writing. They just put it in. That's so cool.
A shimmering 8-armed figure appears out of the darkness in front of her. A translucent figure with far too many arms, somehow immune to the battering ice water, drifting as calm as a Dalanthian jellyfish. In its profusion of arms, it held objects, amongst them blades, shells, an amphora, a buckler shield. It swam close, its unsettling blank mask of a face somehow staying inches from hers even as the deadly river pushed her ever on through the darkness. No, what are you? Her thoughts were so loud, she swore she could hear them. The entity raised its amphora, silvery bubbles drifting from the neck, and let her take a long draught. Not water, but air, blissful and life-giving. Greedy as a newborn, she filled her lungs.
I am the commonality of species,
it said. Its voice was calming, like that of a mother, whilst somehow carrying an edge of threat.
I am destiny.
Let's hope it's not the let's hope it's not the streamer. Jesus.
You are a ghost, Shadowsun replied. Nothing more.
Set against the cosmos, I am nothing. It is true.
The apparition replied.
Though even the seed cast in the wind can flourish, if you will let me, child of hope.
They passed a darker patch of nothingness. A moment later, the water became calmer, less insistent. She could see the glow of the cave worms once more, their glimmer showing the strange diaphanous spirit before her in disturbing detail. How can I repay you? She managed.
I simply wish to exist, child.
It said. Shadowsun's head burst from the surface of the underwater.
That's wild. A god wanting to be something. That's crazy.
River, and in that moment, the entity was gone. When I was reading this book, I was trying to figure out why this entity appeared to Shadowsun so early and why it chose her and nobody else. I mean, other than the main character reasons. Was she its chosen herald? A person the god had taken
Becomes the
special
prophet.
interest in, like we see with the chaos gods and their heralds. Well, in the last paragraph of the book, we see her do something unexpected. She rescinds the original order to destroy all of the Talva shrines, choosing to
8 armed, the Tao Indians now, 8 armed blue goddess. I mean, they haven't showed them as blue. They've showed like the 8 arms. One's like a blue tentacle, but like the others, like the body is more like ethereal. But I get what you mean.
let its worship go uninterrupted. On one hand, this can be seen as her allowing the god to live just like it had done for her so long ago. But on the other hand, she had just learned, or more accurately inferred, that the goddess had once again manifested to save her people. Okay, so before I talk about this novel's epilogue, I should let you know
That's cool. That's cool. This atheist possibly believing that this god, that's some great storytelling. Like, you just told faith is a taboo, everything, but then it saves your life, and then it appears again, and then the second time is not a coincidence, man.
first that aside from the tiny bits of information about the Tau Voss scattered throughout the book, the vast majority of it is a Death Guard versus Tau story. It's a pretty simple setup. The Death Guard are invading the Tau's newly
What are those eyes? Jesus, man.
established territory on the far side of the Startide Nexus, and Shadowsun and the rest of the Tau have to
Bro
push
got the owo
This
eyes.
isn't the Death Guard's real target, though. What they're attempting to do is travel through the wormhole.
That is beautiful. Oh my god, the imagery here. Like, look how like jarring that is. Like these almost pristine white wings and everything else is just carnage. What the?
Hole in order to deliver their nightmare plagues to the heart of the Tau Empire. If they're successful, the consequences could be apocalyptic. Unfortunately for the Tau, the Death Guard ultimately win here. At the very end of the book, they enter the Startide Nexus. But it doesn't go as planned for them. Now, they should be able to jump in and out in only a day's worth of travel time. But instead of traveling through the space-time tunnel of the wormhole, the Death Guard fleet finds itself stuck in the bizarre subrealm that the Fourth Sphere was stuck in before. They're in this strange place for what feels like months.
Whoa,
or
what
even
the
years.
fuck is that? Is this just like, just, I don't know, random illustration? Not random, but like, there can't be a freaking dragon. What the?
Totally becalmed with no way out. And that's when the Death Guard Lord Glortosk looks out of one of the ship's viewports and sees something that causes him to feel something he hasn't felt in a very long time. Fear. There was something out there in the swirls, a vast entity, built like a Tau as much as a human, but with far too many arms. Some of those limbs appeared to have 5 fingers, others 4 digits, like the Tau or the bird-like talons of the Kroot. Some ended in ursine claws or waving tendrils, much like those of the fungus creature that had worked its spell on his bridge. Many of the hands held blades, but others cornucopias, quills, or patches of flickering light. Where its face should be, it had nothing at all, just a blank cliff of pale flesh.
What are you?
Said Glortosk, a phrase resolved in the turmoil of his mind, like a torpedo coming into terrible focus on a submarine's view slate.
I am the goddess Tauva.
No, these Tau are godless.
Shouted Glortosk.
But their allies are not.
The entity loomed in close, talons each the length of a strike cruiser closing around the Nephilim, holding it still as a fly in aspic and keeping it there. Lord Glortosk dropped the shard of glass and screamed until his mind came apart. That's all
Whoa.
of the appearances of the Tauva goddess and everything that we know about her so far from the stories that she's been involved in. Although we can safely assume what she is and how she came into existence, and what direction her storyline is going to go is still a pretty massive mystery. Some fans
Yeah.
speculated that the
I mean,
Tao
so far, it doesn't say much. It's like the Tao almost. When I first learned about the Tao, like it seems like it's all one-dimensional for the greater good, everything. But I don't know, man. I don't trust it, man. So far, the gods have been terrible. So a good god? Come on, dude.
may end up evolving into a more spiritual species over time as her worship spreads. Others believe that we may be seeing the early signs of another splinter faction within the Tao Empire, in a similar vein to the Farside enclaves, though this one would be comprised almost entirely of auxiliary giants.
Literally.
Now, just throwing my 2 cents in here, if the massacres committed by the Fourth ever become public knowledge, that one will almost certainly come to pass. The first one, though, I'm not so sure. Remember, the Ethereals rule over the Tao Empire with an iron grip. They are viewed as the closest thing the Tao species has to a god in terms of wisdom and authority. A real deity showing up is the absolute last thing they would want.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Selfish need for control here. Remember, the greater good is the cornerstone of culture and society for them. This god, in many respects, would prove their infallible belief system to in fact be flawed. She would undermine everything they have been taught to believe, which could lead to widespread panic and geopolitical instability. And considering the state of the galaxy right now, that's the absolutely last thing the Tao Empire needs. But what do you think of all this? What direction do you think Games Workshop's going to go with this new warp entity? Do you think that—
That's so ironic. They're so accepting of Xenos creatures. They try and give an olive branch like almost instantly, even to the demons of Nurgle. But ultimately, any deviation, they actually want to shut it down. Irony.
the Tau will ultimately embrace or reject her? Do you think Shadowsun will end up becoming the Tau Va equivalent to the Chaos Herald, like Ahriman,
Yeah.
Typhus, and Karn?
I'm seeing it. I mean, the setup is there, right? She has like there's a seed of hope or a seed of belief that's just been set now.
Not to mention it in the main video, but there's another really cool scene in the Shadowsun book where a bunch of auxiliaries are fighting against the Death Guard and losing, so they start praying to the Tau Va, and they manage to manifest an actual miracle, a holy aura that brings chaos. Now, it's definitely a
Blasphemy.
mind, all things considered, especially when you compare it to the miracles of, say, a faction like the Sisters of Battle. But remember, the Tau Va is still in her infancy and definitely not the most powerful god out there. Now, personally, I think it would be pretty crazy if suddenly Shadowsun got a whole bunch of greater good stuff.
The tower changing, the more they experience the galaxy, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it feels, I like my earlier thought of like, they're a new faction and it feels very meta, like within the lore, they're still new to everything, so like they're discovering everything, like they've been placed there just out of the blue. Very meta, and I think that's probably what they're trying to do. It is really cool, man.
Style blessings. Hell, what would the equivalent of a greater good demon prince?
Like seeing them possibly getting corrupted, like having to deal with everything. Yeah, man.
Now that I think about it, I don't know how I would feel about that. I don't know if I'd like that or absolutely hate it. But if Games Workshop decided to go that direction, all I can say is it would be buck wild. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and you think I earned
That was
it, go ahead
great.
and like the video and maybe subscribe to the channel while you're at it.
Already did, man. Already did. What a great video, man. Some fan theories is that the ethereals are warp touched, and it's a reason they cannot control. Yeah, there's, I don't know. There's a bunch of things. I'm still thinking that the God Emperor like is some sort of, well, he's a demigod, but like I feel like there's more, man. There has to be more. I think bro's actually a god in his own right, but doesn't want to actually say it. Bro, goated, man. What a video. An Imperial assassin killed the leader of the Tau, and they secretly replaced him with AI. What? I mean, it's fitting. I mean, they from what I've seen on the video, they like to shut things down as like contrary to what they believe in and just cover stuff up. It's kind of like the real world.